So now in Painter, let's go File, New. So let's go File, New. Let's select our mesh. So I always have in my Paint folder, I have a mesh. It's gonna be the mesh texture. OpenGL. Probably start naming my bakes better to match the material names so they automatically apply. Actually, we did name pretty well. Maybe that works, not sure. Let's go ahead and do template. Now let's work with the real one. So for me, my model didn't load. So I just split it up in different pieces by material. And the reason why it was not loading is the UVs for the face I forgot to have. So I just did a quick automatic one. Also changed the material names to match the bake names so the autoloader can work. You can see it still had some problems. So then we need to go here. Just put the remaining ones in by hand. I should take that at moments as well, which is new. I don't think you take input for that moment, so because that's part of the list. So I want many to delete that. Let's go ahead and do that normal. Let me show you. So the first thing, let's reorder the windows a little bit. So I like to have my properties paint over here, and then the assets all the way at the bottom. Then my layer stack on the right. So now let's go to view settings. We need to use the Studio Tomoka. It's going to give you the best color accuracy. Just blur the environment. Shadows, average. A little bit. Then with opacity we can change like how bright the background is. Let's put the field of view at like 80. Post effects, let's turn on vignette. Just to make our viewport look nice. And anti-aliasing, bump that up. Put this to very high. And let's put the quality here to very high. We can change the intensity of AO. So bend normal, that's new, I haven't seen that before. Looks pretty nice. Let's go ahead and use that as well. Not sure if I like it on some parts. Some parts looks nice, other parts looks less good. I'm gonna go for like 0.7. First let's go ahead and make a save. So let's call this pilot helmet. Now that we have paint set up, also put the band normal map in here. We can start texturing. So first let's take our face. We're not gonna actually texture the face itself. I'm just gonna pick like a black color. It looks a little bit nicer to look at. So we can call that done. So now we just need to worry about the actual helmet itself. I'll start with the helmet itself, because first we're gonna do the leather. We can then reuse that leather on the other pieces. And here we just have the biggest preview of what it's actually gonna look like. So to start off, first we need to bring some detail maps in Painter. I'm gonna take the cavity, the bump and the height. Just gonna drag them into my project. Then also let's open up a reference. So I have this big on my second screen. So I'll kind of have it here as well, so you can kind of see what we're doing and what I'm looking at. So for the leather, I'm just looking at this piece of leather as I really like it. So at first let's make a smart material base. So we're gonna call this base values. So let's take the color, then the roughness, something like that. It's gonna be a little bit lighter. Italic should be off, so that's all looking good. So let's call this base values. Let's call this one base instead. Just gonna put the normal out, not using that. Leave the height and the other stuff in, because we'll be using that later. Then over here we're gonna drag a HSL in. Let's call this variation. So we need to set this to pass through. And first we're gonna darken it. Let's actually call this one darken. Let's add a black mask. Fill. Then let's just do a basic cloud fill. And put this to triplanar. Maybe something like that. Let's try a different cloud. I'll go with this one. I think this one looks the most like leather. So like that's okay. think that's a little bit too strong, the effect. So I want to keep it subtle. Let's duplicate. Actually, first let's go to roughness. I'm gonna do a new filter. HSL. This one should be on the roughness. We also need to go here, set this to pass through. Make this darker. So now we get the same variation as in the color and the roughness. So now let's copy that. Call this lighten. Now we need to put a different generator in here. Procedural, however you want to call it. I'm gonna put the balance down. That's a bit with the rotation. Maybe more tiling. These are gonna be our light spots. And bump up the lightness and saturation a bit. Maybe something like that. Then the roughness. Need to make this lighter. So you can see now we have pretty good base for the ladder already. So I'm gonna group these together. Call this lighten. Actually, let's not group them together. Do a duplicate. And do one more. Let's call this saturated. And this one we're just really gonna push that saturation up. Then let's pick a grunge. Maybe that one. Looks pretty cool. Put that way down. Maybe something like that. I'm gonna add a new fill. Put this to multiply. This is just gonna take away from that. So now you can see we get these saturated spots. We can increase or decrease the amount by adjusting this. I'm going to up the tiling a little bit. So something like that. Then we need to decrease the effect strength. And let's try making this one more small. Something like that. So now we got some nice saturated spots. Also, I'm gonna adjust the roughness on that. So maybe some very shiny spots. Maybe not too shiny, something like that. So that's already looking pretty good. So let's call that done for now. Now we need to do a pretty important step. We're gonna bring our baked maps into this. So let's do like a folder, call this baked maps. Start with curvature. Go to effects, do HSL. I'll try it a little bit different than how I usually do it. So base color, then add black mask, fill. And put the curvature in there. Put this to pass through. I'm not sure if I like this better than the way I normally do it. I'm just gonna do it the way I normally do it, how I prefer it. Then we just take the curvature and put it in base color, and then roughness. Then in base color we put this on overlay. Tone this down to something like 25. Then we get some of that sculpted detail back in our texture. Just gonna add some nice depth. Here you can see like the ladder detail that we sculpted coming back. Then we need to do the same for roughness. So overlay. And put this to like 25. You can see what it does. Just makes everything look a little bit nicer. Then let's do the same for our ambient occlusion. So for this one I always do it with the HSL. Call this AO, black mask, and fill. Now just put the ambient occlusion in there. Need to invert. And just put the lightness down a little bit. And I like to bump the saturation up a little bit. And go to these settings. Have the AO be a little bit less strong in the viewport. And like that. So now what we can do, can take baked maps and click instantiate across texture sets. You don't need interface. It's just gonna duplicate it to each and every texture set that we have. So if we go take a look here, you can see it, that effect. And it's automatically gonna use the right maps for the right channels, for the right texture set, I mean, as you can see. So that's really useful. Now let's get back to our ladder material. So over here I want to make a new HSL. Let's call this Q shift 1. For this one we're just going to take the hue and shift it. So what I'm looking for right now, we have like a red, so then I also want like a green. So that's going to be a green hue. Then I also want a blue hue. I'm just gonna try to get all the kind of primary colors in there. But then for this one, let's add a black mask, add fill. Maybe try that one. That one looks pretty cool. Let's do try planar. Put the tiling way down and the balance way down. Okay, this is not the one. Let's try dirt 4. So something like that. Want this to be a very, very subtle effect. Actually, let's not make it that subtle. Maybe we can still use that one. Okay, let's use this one. Up contrast a little bit. And then right here, I'm gonna take that base color, just put it way down. Maybe it's something like 10. Now you can see we get some very subtle hue shifts. In our ladder we have a little bit of green, still a bit too strong, so maybe like 8. Now I'm gonna, actually we don't need to delete that, we can Ctrl-Alt-C, add white mask and Ctrl-Alt-V. This is gonna paste it into the mask, so you can see. One thing that's important, that we rotate this so it's different. Maybe change the balance a little bit and change tiling a little bit. Then we're gonna put this one maybe at 6 or 5. I think we need more contrast for this one. Maybe more tiling. Let's add a fill. Multiply. Take a little bit away from that. So you can see now we can take a little bit away from that. Now we got some nice blue spots. I'm just going to put it down to 10. Take a look. So the idea is that you don't see it, but it's definitely there and it's changing a little bit the colors. It's just going to add some nice variation. Put this to 7. Bump this one up to 11. I'm gonna group them together so that they pass through. Let's call this hue shifts. Make sure to name our place properly. And then finally, I'm gonna go to effects, do a contrast. I'm gonna bump up the contrast here, add a black mask, fill. I wanna get like a pretty cool crunch here, something that hopefully represents a ladder a little bit. Maybe we'll try that one. So now for this particular piece, I don't necessarily want to put it to triplanar. This one we actually want to have the like the UV cuts have a little bit of a different look. Because let's say this like a leather strip. That leather strip wouldn't have like a spot right here because it's cut out of leather, right? So we can do something like that. Just messing with contrast a little bit. And we can adjust the intensity of that. Now we already have some really cool looking leather. So now the first thing I notice, it's a little bit too dark. You can adjust the base values and whatever. But another thing that we can do is just take a color correct. Put this all the way on top. And put this in its own group. Call this correction. Let's call it adjustments. Then over here, let's put a HSL. It's gonna be the first one that we start with. So here we can just bump up the lightness. First we need to put this to pass through. So then over here we can adjust the lightness of the material. And let's actually put that above base. Then we need to group this together. Call this a ladder. So one thing I saw in the update of Painter, supposedly we can add adjustments to this, just to a group. So I'm gonna see if that works like this. So maybe add. Not sure how that works. So I think we can just click add filter. Let's see. Now we can track a HSL in here. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So we don't actually need that adjustment group anymore. It's gonna be nice. Wish we could name them though. This is gonna help keep our lace stack a little bit more minimal, which is great. Actually, will it? We cannot even collapse this. Do a new filter. So I'm not necessarily convinced because you cannot collapse it and give proper naming. And can we add a mask? Yeah. To me this is pretty useless because we don't get the control that I'm looking for. With this, let's say if we then want to mask this to not have the effect everywhere, we can still do that. I don't want to lose the flexibility of that. So we're still gonna do it like this. Maybe we can increase that value a little bit now. I don't necessarily want to copy this one for one, because I do want to give this a more worn out look. Also, I think we can increase the hue shift a little bit. I think we accidentally deleted that. So I just did undo to get that back. We have a hue shift again. Then let's move this out. Let's put a HSL as well. group this. Call this adjustment. Put this to pass through. And put the lightness up again. So here I'm gonna make this effect a little bit stronger. I think you can tell this is way too strong right now. Now we get like the control of both a little bit better. Now we'll group. Maybe something like 29. And just really subtle. So let's put that away. That one's fine. So I'm also gonna mess a little bit with color correction. So we can up the contrast maybe a little bit, maybe mess with saturation. I think that looks good enough for now. Might adjust that again later though. Now in our base, make a new fill layer and group that. Call this details. And do a black mask. Put a fill. Let's call this detail mask. It's now in our project. Pretty sure we imported our textures. Okay, they're here. I think I'll go with the bump. Can put the bump here. You can see we get some nice looking details. Again, don't put this on UV projection. This needs to switch when you get to a new plane of ladder. So check out the other ones. That one looks pretty nice as well. That one doesn't look good. This one's a little bit more subtle. I'm gonna take a zoom up, see what we're trying to achieve. I think this one will be the best one. So what we can do here, in the height, let's add some height to it. Just looking which way I have to push it in. I think that way. It's gonna be a little bit challenging to see. Let's go with that. So I'm gonna see if I can contain it all in one layer. So we can do a HSL. This one's gonna be the color, and I want to follow the same logic as here. First we do the color, then the roughness. This will keep it nice and consistent. So we're gonna set this to pass through and pass through. So I don't like how that works. Prefer to have that inverted, so we can do a level. levels. It's not a filter. Actually, I have to go here and do a level and invert. So now we can darken the in-betweens. So let's take a look at our height. Gotta readjust that. So I want to push the cavities in. Then we also want to make them darker. Again, if you darken stuff, most of the times it's a good idea to bump up the saturation, so it doesn't just look black. So if we don't do that, 0.5, see this looks pretty boring and black. This looks a little nicer. So maybe the effect's a little bit too strong. Bump that down. Then bump down the height. To that we'll just do it through the height intensity here to keep it nice and subtle. That looks pretty nice. So now what we have to do in our roughness channel, we need to do the same. So let's do a add filter, HSL. This one's going to be in the roughness. I go to roughness and put that to pass through and pass through. We just want to make that less shiny. Maybe that's a little bit too much. I want to adjust that base value a little bit, make this more rough. See, that's starting to look pretty nice. So one thing I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V here. First we need a mask and Ctrl-V. So now instead of having a whole details folder, you can just have one layer called details. That's going to keep our layer stack a little bit more minimum, so that's good. The only downside is that you cannot really tell that this is the color and this is the roughness. Like, you have to know that, so you have to look here. I wish we could rename this stuff, but we can't. We can also still make adjustments to this. If we go to a detail mask, we can still check out the other maps, see how that looks. Actually, I think that looks a little bit more nice. I feel like this one looks very strong and big. This one's just very nice and subtle. But maybe we can achieve the same with this one. We go to levels. We mess a little bit with the look of that. See, we can very quickly get different types of leather looks by messing with the levels. So we can do a duplicate. Then for this one, let's use the other one. Mess around a little bit with these levels until we get something that we like. I think like that's starting to look pretty nice. For this one, we can make it a little bit bigger, maybe 0.8. Same for this one. Bump up the contrast on this. Could try making this a little bit bigger maybe. So we can kind of switch between the two, see which one we like the best. Definitely think this one looks a lot better. Just gonna delete that one. Let's do this again. Kind of check that height one. That one could be interesting if we mess with the intensity maybe. So for this one, I think first we need to do a filter. And do a height pass on it. It's gonna kind of even everything out, as you can see. And we can mess how much of that height we want to have come through. Maybe like that. Over here we can adjust the levels. Maybe something like that. It's not looking bad. So very interesting leather look as well, I think. Not sure if I like it better though. Again, you can keep adding as many layers as you want and filters. I think this is super cool in Painter, just to mess with all this stuff and see if you can come up with something that looks very cool and interesting. This one's not really gonna do anything. For example, we could throw a warp on this. This way we can make the leather details look a little bit more worn out. So maybe something like that. You can see how that changes the details a bit. So I definitely think that's the best one though. So we're gonna go with that. I want to see if we can get like a little bit of a bump in the middle of there. So maybe we can try duplicating this one. And this we put the bump. This time we don't invert it. I only want to get like that middle part right there. We do a filter, blur. Blur out that bump. Very important, don't change anything here. Just want to add a little bit of height. Now you can see we get a little bit of a bump to the leather, which looks pretty nice. It's a little bit too intense. Maybe we can first try it without the blur, without the levels. Yeah, I think that works better. One thing that's important, make sure that you use the same scale. Otherwise it's not gonna match up. And then in the height here, you can just adjust the strength of that. I think that leather looks very nice. See, now it has a little bit more of a punch, but still very nice and crisp. I'm just gonna call this details bump. Also, I'm gonna put all the project files, like the whole paint file and the smart materials that I use in this tutorial, up on my page and on Patreon, so you can download them. So if you want to have a look at that or just reuse them, you're free to do so. They're not gonna use the same detail map. I'm gonna replace them with a free one from Painter. So obviously I cannot give you a paid alpha. So that's looking pretty good now. Don't like the roughness breakup on this. So that's gonna be lighten, and then the second one, let's make it less obvious. Maybe we can adjust that a little bit like that. Now let's do the stitches. I'm gonna do a new fillet. Let's call this custom. Then this one. I'm gonna put a HSL. Let's call this one stitches. Follow this one, so bump up the lightness and saturation, put this on pass-through in the color channel. Saturation needs to be even more. And let's do a mask color with the color selection. Let's take our stitches color. Looking pretty nice. Let's do a new HSL. This one's going to be for the roughness. Actually, I think it might be better, this one in particular. The levels. Now you also cannot rename those. That's okay. So HSL. Should be adding this here, not on the mask. For this one, let's bump up the lightness and put this to roughness. Then roughness, put this to pass through. Now you can see that we get very rough stitches. It's a little bit difficult to see actually. Now you can see very glossy. Now that's super rough, which is what we want for stitches. It's gonna be some nice breakup. Now if we want, we can push this in a little bit. Just call it stitches. Put this pass through. Base color pass through. So we can now call this base. Then we can duplicate it. Actually, let's delete it. Do a fill layer. Ctrl-C. Ctrl-V. So now, in this one, adjust the height. I'm gonna be punching this down. Now what we need to do is we need to add a filter. Let's take blur. I want to just blur this out. And we need to do one more thing, add color selection and select that color again. Then here I think we need to do a subtract. Now you can see we have like an area around stitches that we can control with the blur here. Maybe let's try something like this. So something more like that, an outline. I'm gonna add one more blur to make the transition less hard. So blur. This one should be very subtle. Maybe something like that. Then we can adjust the reach by that blur. Now you can see we can punch the stitches in a little bit. That's gonna make them look a little bit more put into place. Then we can adjust that effect. So in the height, just mess with the strength of that. Another cool thing, go to color here. Actually, let's do a HSL. This one pass through. Really working as I was hoping on. I think we're gonna need to do this with the levels. Try doing it just with the color channel instead. Okay, I think that works okay. Now we can give like a little bit of an ambient occlusion almost to those stitches, make them a little bit darker. It's gonna just help make them feel a little bit more grounded. See, this looks very out of place. Now they blend in a little bit more natural. So now we need to do like a nice rough edge. To do that, you can just take all this, just group this together, call this ladder. So now we're gonna duplicate that, Control D. Let's call this under ladder. So like the name suggests, move this under the ladder and disable the ladder itself. So for this one, we're gonna adjust the base values. This one needs to be very rough. Let's take that color. That looks nice. Then the darken. I'm gonna need to adjust this a little bit. Give this more tiling. Same for the lighten. More tiling. And same for saturated. Maybe adjust the balance. We don't need that one here. Actually, I really like those little spots. Like a little bit more. one, see if I can find a better noise for this. I think I'm gonna prefer Berlin in here. Get a little bit more control. And then let's take that effect. Let's lower the effect. I'm just looking here to this edge. Let's mess around with the hue shift. Actually, we can keep it. Okay. So now we need to go to details. Let's first get rid of the details bump. And in details, we're gonna replace the detail mask. This time we can just do it with like a dirt generator, that's fine. Just tiling. Just contrast and balance. See, that's starting to look really nice and messy. I think we can do a little bit more height on this. I'm gonna go to height and increase that. So something like that. I think in adjustments. So now in adjustments, in the color correct. Wanna decrease the contrast a little bit. So something like that. Let's also set the background to be a little bit more like a reference. And turn down that vignette a little bit. Something like that. So now that we have all this, underlet is looking good. We want to have this basically everywhere. For now, we still need to do like the whole selection. Let's actually do that right now. Let's do Ctrl G. Let's call this ladder. Now let's do the mask with color selection. We want this one, and then our stitches. Not sure why I gave those a different ID color. Selecting the wrong ones, turn down the tolerance. And sadly I haven't found a good way to get rid of those white lines. The only thing you can do is kind of try to select those colors in between. Then it's gonna select a bunch of other stuff most of the times. So usually I just kind of ignore that. And then all the way at the bottom, make a new layer. It needs to be out of the ladder. Then go for like a blackish color. Then put the roughness all the way down. Then you don't really notice it too much. One thing that you can do is to decrease that effect even more. Call this background. Let's call this black. We can call this, let's say, browns. Now in this one, You can just select a color like that. Then anywhere where you have this, you can do black mask and you can just paint that like that. So for now I'm not going to be too worried about it. I'm just showing you some techniques that you can do. Now let's put our leather back. So the first thing you can see, the height is messed up because the height from the under leather is coming through, which we don't want. So we can go to height. I think we can set this basically to replace. That will fix it. Now you can see it's being replaced. So now let's do add mask with color selection. Let's select our top leather layer. Also our stitches. Actually, let's get our stitch layer out of here. Let's just put that on top of leather. And our custom is empty, so I'm gonna delete that. I think this is a bit too saturated. Push that saturation down. Maybe push up the lightness a little bit. I think that looks very nice. Then one thing that you can do, if you don't like the transition between the two, go under leather to leather, base and base values. And you can put like a base height if you want. This is gonna switch up a little bit. See, that looks pretty nice. And trying to see how it looks everywhere. So I think we do need to keep the stitches in there, otherwise that's gonna look weird. So over here we can push the tolerance up quite a bit till it starts messing up this selection here, because it's gonna respect this selection, so we don't need to worry about it selecting anything else. I think that's a little bit too much. Just to say, let's bring that down a little bit. So we got some stitches that are not being selected. So let's add that color as well. Then we need to do the same here. And the same here. Still doesn't seem to work. Because we need to do it in our leather as well. This can be pretty annoying. But you cannot really avoid it. So now we can quickly switch off the height and the base value. And see how that looks, the difference. For me, this just punches everything in a little bit more nicely, as you can see. Get that nice sharp edge. So another way to fix all these little artifacts, you can go to leather, the top one, you can do a paint, just paint that out like that. Then you can do it like that. One downside of this is though, right now we get all this under leather around the stitches. That's a different color, so it doesn't really work nicely. So I'm not gonna do it like this. So I'm just gonna go to here, call this leather. I'm just gonna take basic color of the leather. Gonna add a white mask. And this is gonna be like the base of our background layer. You can see that helps quite a lot. So I'm not really feeling the height on those stitches. I think it's because of the base value height. Yeah. So one thing that we can try to do, let's enable stitches again. See the difference in our base values. We could just make one on top, call this height. Do a mask with color selection. Actually, I don't think that works either, but we can try. Yeah, it doesn't work. So let's get rid of the height at, just so the stitches stay nice. Now, one thing that we need to do to really bring this material to life, if we take a look at the roughness, still looking very boring. So I'm gonna call this top leather. Get a little bit of different naming going on. Some variations. Put a HSL. Let's call this one roughness. Now the roughness, just make it way darker, like a black mask. Look for interesting grunge. I think that the one that we used earlier was pretty nice. I think it was a noise. Yeah, moisture. Let's try that one at fill. Again, we don't necessarily want the seams to blend. I'm gonna keep it like that. Let's start off with some subtle breakup like that. Maybe a little bit bigger. Then more contrast, maybe. This is gonna be our first roughness breakup. Again, still looking pretty uninteresting. Then we duplicate it. Call this roughness 2. This time we pick like a really cool, interesting pattern. Maybe something like that. Don't want to get this too shiny. Now we got some nice roughness breakup. We can quickly group this, see the difference. I think that's pretty obvious. This one looks way nicer. See, it looks way more interesting. It's got this roughness. Here you could change the strength if you'd like. So something like that looks pretty good so far. Then we can do one more thing to make the leather look more worn out. We can go to top leather. We can do fill. Actually, let's go to smart masks. Look for a nice one. Usually this one works pretty cool. We need to invert that. Now you can see we can make it look a little bit more worn out by having that underleather show through. One problem here is replacing some of that edge with the leather, something we definitely don't want. So let's just set it to multiply, so it can only take away, not add. Now we can mess with the values. Don't like how it's taking away from the stitches though. But we can fix that. We can do add color selection. Pick the stitches. And put that to a value that I have to look for. I think it's a lighten. So now you see it doesn't take away from the stitches. Not really liking that one too much though. See if we can fix it by hand. So something like this already looking a little bit better. I know it looks kind of strange, but we're gonna tone this way down. So now that we have all this, first thing I'm gonna do is add a fill on top, multiply, and do like clouds. Change the tiling a little bit and the balance. So you can see that takes away a little bit. Actually, that's adding. Of course, being inverted. Then we gotta put on subtract, I think. Okay. Now we can take away a little bit of that already. Nope. Still adding. Multiply. Let's look for the right one. So maybe replace. Nope. So this one seems to be right. Divide. Now we can take away a little bit of that. Then all the way at the top we can do another fill and multiply. divide as well. Okay. Still not the one that I want. Okay, this one's working. Actually, let's just undo this a little bit. Not getting the result that I want, so I'm gonna play this again. Group this again, I mean. So top ladder. Let's call this base mask. Then over here we can just start taking away some stuff from this. Maybe we can try that one. I think that one's pretty cool already. Became a little bit too noisy though. Gotta put this on replace as well. So now we can take some stuff away. Then we can do a fill. Still not able to do that. Okay, it should be white. If we want it to be not visible. So with this one now we can take away from the strength of that. So now you can see we can kind of bring in some subtle wear and tear. Just like that. And we have a little bit showing through, which is pretty nice. Let's see if we can mess around with the base value with some height, maybe. I think that's just gonna become noisy. Yeah, let's not do that. And I think that's enough work on the ladder for now. We can pick up the ladder later again. Let's go ahead and work a little bit on the other materials now. So I'm gonna do that really quickly. I'm gonna block something out. I'm gonna take our top ladder. I'm gonna duplicate that. I'm gonna move this all the way to the top. Let's give this a color. Let's move this above. Put a new black mask and mask with color selection. Let's work a little bit on those. Let's call that strap. Now to save time, we're not gonna redo all that stuff that we did. We can get rid of stitches. just go to base value, just the color. Then we're gonna need to adjust the, how you say it? The detail map. I'm gonna go back a little bit. Actually, I want to keep stitches in there. We can use it for the for over there. Put that roughness way down. And this time stitches can become sides. Let's pick that color. We don't need less roughness. It's gonna be the same. This should be darkened. So for this one, it's definitely gonna be the easiest just to mask this out to edit. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Probably be a little bit easy in the texture view. Put this to UV. So the way that you deal with these little stripes is kind of dependent. Sometimes the background works better. Sometimes easy just to mask it out. Not sure why it's not letting me zoom in. So fixing those little pieces pretty annoying. It's a pretty important step though, fixing those lines. So now this should look way better. Yeah, it's looking way nicer. Go ahead and delete the height. Now we do need to blur this a little bit out. Maybe something like that. I think we can increase the strength of this effect. It's not looking good right now. I'm gonna push that out a little bit with levels. So let's push that out. Doesn't matter if it crosses the UV. Remember, we have the base mask of the straps, which we will respect. So now we can do another blur. Blur that out again. we can change the range by adjusting this one. Adjust these values a little bit. That's looking better. I think this is a little bit too saturated, the underladder. We can just go to the top here and push down saturation. Something more like that. So the way that I like to work is to kind of have everything go at the same pace. So I don't just want to finish off this texture set and really focus on one material at a time. I want to kind of fill out everything. So now we're gonna go to the mask. But before we do that, we're gonna go to the helmet. Just gonna go into our layers. I'm gonna take this ladder. I'm gonna say create smart material. And it's gonna crash. So I'm gonna try that again. Just add a temp to know that's not a final material. That's just a temporary one. So this time it worked out fine. So now I can just easily drag and drop that in any other set without having to copy and paste that all the time. So let's go to mask. For the mask, there's like a way different ladder type, I think at least. For me, it's not too important to get the material 1000% right all the time. Like I'm pretty sure this leather, so it looks like leather to me, so we can just go with that. So one thing that's important, I drag it underneath the baked map instance, because that's gonna apply all the nice effects that we have in there. Now you're gonna see nothing happens. This is right, because we have our mask. So let's go ahead and clear that. Then we have the top leather based mask. I'm gonna clear that as well. So add a white mask. So now over here, let's do a mask. If it becomes a little bit hard to see, we can go ahead and disable some other groups. And that's all, I think. I'm just gonna go to a picture with good quality, so that's this one. Let's ignore the underladder for now. Just gonna be worried about the top. I'm gonna go to the base value. Just click this little drop icon and pick a base color. So you want to try to not get the lightest color. Also not get the darkest color, just kind of try to get a color in between. I think that one works quite well. Maybe a little bit lighter. Again, remember this one still has a lot of stuff going on, like filters, adjusting the color and whatever. Now I think the detail mask doesn't work. As you can see, this looks quite different. It's less strong as well. So let's just go ahead and close the base. That looks fine for now. Let's go to detail. First we can get rid of the detail bump. We don't need it for this one. So think for this one, the height might work pretty nice as it's more subtle. You need to adjust that a little bit. Start off with the height itself. I'm not sure if this one's actually gonna work. Disable those levels. I feel like it's looking quite different here. Yes, this one doesn't work. Can try the bump. Maybe we're just gonna use the same one and adjust the tiling to make it a little bit more stretchy. With stuff like this, just kind of searching for the right detail mask to put on. Go back and forward and try different things. As you can see here, it's actually the details become lighter. Let's first go ahead and do that. Also become less saturated, I think. Search Painter for a new one. Go ahead and type a ladder. I think this one might work better. Yeah, that one looks a little bit more like what we want. Stretch that a little bit. Make sure the rotation looks right. That looks pretty good to me. So the first thing that I notice is it's looking too glossy right now. I do want a little bit more saturation. Go here, just the saturation. Maybe something like that. And let's down the glossiness a bit. Let's see what happens if we invert this. So that doesn't become better. You can mess around with slider a little bit. I think it's probably okay like that. And now you can see how we just created this new material in a matter of like 5 minutes. That's looking pretty nice and good just by reusing what we already have. So that's one important thing. You always want to try to keep reusing your materials, so you can save some time. Let's go ahead and work on the under ladder a little bit. So first we need to define the top ladder. So this one's like our wear mask. See what happens if we disable that. So let's do a new group. Let's call this top ladder base mask. Again, Again, I wish there was like a better way to do like these nested masks, but for right now I don't think there is. I think the best way is just to keep regrouping it. And then just do it like that. Okay. So now everything underneath this is gonna be our underladder. So I do think the height is popping through again. And height we need to set this to replace as well. Now that's looking correct. So this one, because the textile density is like almost twice as high, we need to go to top ladder mask, under ladder I mean, and then go to the detail. If we take a look here, detail mask, because it's twice as high, we need to up the tiling a bit. So maybe let's say -40, actually -50. Now that's gonna look a little bit nicer. So for this one, I'm just kind of looking at some edgewear. Let's see if we have a good one for that. I think this is the best one that we have for it. So it should be like a lighter but pretty saturated green. I'm gonna go base value. Start off with what we have already. Actually, that looks like it might work. That's looking pretty okay. I do think the height is a little bit too aggressive on the details. I'm gonna go here. Just gonna do it in here, height, and push this down. Just like that. I think that looks okay. So for this one, I want to have a little bit more edgewear. So we're gonna go back to a top ladder mask. Then top ladder. Rename this to edge. Where? Do this mask a little bit more clear. So this one's going to be base mask. Just going to add them like in little brackets. Try to clear up my paint file. It's important to have very clear naming so people don't get confused. Also, I'm going to be sharing the whole paint file, everything, so you can take the materials if you like, or just have a look at how everything's built, or kind of play with it. That's going to be up on Patreon. If you want to get it, just head over there and I'll upload the files there. And I'll leave a link in the description for that. So over here, let's first disable this fill. I'm gonna try another generator. Gonna make this a little bit smaller and just put it to the side. And on my second screen, I'm gonna have it up pretty big. So let's look for an edgewear. You can do something like this, right? Edge. You can see all the edgewear masks that we can use. I think this one might work. It isn't looking good. Let's try this one. Actually, let's try that one. I'm gonna up the contrast, up the global balance. Just gonna be messing with these sliders until we get something that we like. I'm not entirely convinced on that one. It's like the beauty, we can really quickly just do different ones, kind of see how that's looking. Also, if you don't want to invert, no, we do need to actually. So I'm just gonna try a few and then choose which one I like the most. I do think it's probably gonna be this one again. Don't necessarily like how tight this one is though. Actually, let's go with gun edges. You get like some nice little spots. So one have some nice little wear to it as well. Don't like these scratches. Can do them really subtle, but not too much. And you can work either in the material view or the mask view, just whichever one you like best. I like working in this one, then going to material view and kind of checking out how everything's looking. Then I'll make some adjustments if needs a little bit more. So I think that looks pretty good. Do want a little bit more edgewear on this. So what we can do is we can just add the generator. So put that one there. Let's do a mask builder. Mask editor. I'm just gonna try to get some edgewear in here. This kind of how you can build your own smart masks, by the way. If you're interested in that, that's how you would do it. So with the second texture, I want this to be way smaller. Let's up the scale on that. Now text to opacity, just get that in there. It's gonna add some detail. Maybe something like that. We need to lower that to just get more of the edges only. And I think think that will work pretty nicely. So now that we have these two maps, we can also give this like a description, like edge. Actually we can't, never mind. So now that we have these two, we need to combine them. So you can see it needs to be black to take away some of that. So everything here needs to end up looking black. So we just go into blend modes and just use the arrow keys to go down to get something that works. Now you can see we can take away a little bit extra of our first mask. Now if we take a look at this, we're taking away and we have a little bit more edgewear. So now at this point, I want to see how everything looks together. Then we can just go ahead and up the global balance or put it down and kind of mess with it that way. I'm thinking maybe something like that. That looks pretty nice. I do want to take a little bit away here. So we can just go in here, do a paint. This is where the power of substance really shines. That you do a lot of procedural work and then you just clean it up with some paint. So I like to use the dirt one for everything I do. It's a nice subtle brush. And just with white we can go over it. Make some place a little bit less intense of that generator that we created. This can nicely break up the mask. Do want to leave some of that in there. Do like that there, the wear. So let's go like that. So you can see it just makes it a little bit more subtle. You can also just add some, but we have to do that in the... Actually, why is it not adding? So now it's adding. Maybe I misclicked. So if you want, you can kind of add some hand painted stuff to the layer and whatever. So I think that looks pretty good. Let's give it a quick look how everything's kind of coming together. It's looking very nice. So I definitely think the next thing should be these straps. Just going from the biggest shapes to the smaller shapes. So to do that, I'm just going to take the letter temp. Let's duplicate it, Ctrl D. So now let's go ahead and call this straps. For the straps I'm gonna use two materials as well. One for like the main part and then like this trim, because the detail is a little bit different. It's gonna be this part. So let's call this sides. And this one should be main. Actually the one below. Let's actually start with out a second mask. So we can just drag this out and delete this one. Let's call this like center. So let's do the color selection mask. We can up the tolerance a little bit here. So I just want tolerance to go as high as it can without selecting any other stuff. So let's do it like that. We also need those stitches in there actually. Okay. So let's do the fun stuff. So we still have nested mask. Let's go right away and add a color selection to that one. So my favorite part is just doing the base values and the details. I'm gonna just grab one of those. Actually, we can just leave it like this, as it needs to be pretty similar to that one, but more light. So I'm just gonna up the value. Maybe down the saturation a little bit. Actually, keep saturation pretty high. We can always come back and mess with these values. Just gonna go ahead here and adjust a little bit how I view the model. It's in here. Disable that bend normal. Actually, let's keep that, but a little bit less. Then down the AO intensity maybe a bit. Okay, so let's do the details. This one's pretty straightforward, it's like a canvas fabric type. So I'm gonna use a texture map from Texturing XIZ again, as I think the maps are really nice quality, as you can see here. There's one problem though, if we look at these details, it looks close enough to this, but this one's very ordered and this one's very messy. So we do need to take that into consideration, but we can work around that. One thing that we can do is just put it in your library, so it's always there. You don't need to import it every time. Now if I go for canvas, you can see it's right here. So let's go to the detail layer. Don't like how we have to look for that though, so I'm just gonna change the color so it's a little bit more clear where it is. Just get rid of all this stuff and just put that in here. That's looking pretty good. First thing I do think is we need a little bit more contrast on this. Let's do levels. Something more like that. And we should also invert this. So you can see it looks more or less like it, but it's very, very, very clean. So the first thing we need to do is up the height. So that's already helping. But you can see it's still not looking as nice.